Welcome everyone to our, our Wednesday demos. We're going to be doing some flip and drag variations tonight. I'm going to show you two different paintings. I'll be using the same triadic color scheme, but in two different ways. So hopefully you can see it in a couple different variations, just some ways you can work these triadic color schemes and kind of think outside the box a little bit, perhaps. So I'll show you what the color schemes are, and we'll do two paintings. We're going to have some negative space tonight. So it's all about controlling your negative space, kind of planning to have some negative space in your paintings, and we'll see what we come up with. So welcome everyone. We have got Carla and Monique are in the house. Welcome. Pat is here. Fantastic. And that's it. And Chris has joined us. Fantastic. Hello, Chris. So we're going to be doing two paintings tonight, two different demos. And I'll walk you through all of the stuff. I'll show you the color schemes. I'm going with the triadic color scheme I'm going with is a purple, green, and orange triad. And I'm going to be making one of these colors the dominant color in each painting. One will be kind of the secondary color, and one will be more of a accent color. Hopefully, we'll see. So at least that's the plan. So we'll look at all the different paints I've mixed up. I'm going to be using some of the same paints interchangeably, but we're going to have kind of two different approaches to these flip and drags. So it should be a whole lot of fun. And we might do some manipulation of our paint puddle. We'll see how it goes, but I've got my combs handy. I've got some like the dot making tools, which are you can use to kind of drag through your paint. I got my fingers, of course, for some finger drags if we need them. And that will be dependent on what we see in our paint puddle. So we'll see what happens. And I'm excited to get going and do some different demos for you. So let's dive on over. I'll show you the colors and we'll get going. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments and I'll be happy to answer them. And all right, so let's go ahead and do it. So I'm going to flip the camera and here we go. So I've got a 12 by 16 canvas ready to go here. So I've kind of moved it to the side. So here is our color wheel. I've blocked out the other sections so you can just focus on the triadic colors. And this is a good little, it takes a little, 5-10 minutes to do. It just takes some printer paper, cut out these little like pie sections, and use some small paper clips to just tape them on or paper clip them on there. And then you can swing your color wheel around and you can see all the different triads you could come up with. It's a good way to just focus on what you need to look at. And you could do that, and you could arrange these for your split complementary or your tetradic color scheme, whatever you wish. But we're just looking at the triads tonight. So what we're going to be working on are, this is our triad that I'm going to experiment with tonight or do two paintings for. It's a violet, orange, and a green triad. So these are equal distance colors on the color wheel. And I've used green and violet a lot. And of course, sometimes I throw in some gold. So we've got some orange here, which, I kind of fudge it a little bit. So it's kind of maybe closer to a red violet, maybe kind of a bluish green, and maybe a yellow orange type of a triad. You can play around with this. It doesn't have to be perfect or exact. But this is just to kind of give you a sense of the colors we're going to be working with. So for the first painting, violet is going to be my dominant color. And so I have 3 different violets mixed up here. And I'm going to be pouring a base coat over the whole canvas. I've mixed up a very light base coat. So this is a very light violet color. So we're going to be working on a light base coat. And then the second painting is going to have a dark base coat. So you can kind of see the extremes, a light negative space area and then a dark negative space. So I've got 2 violets here. I'll probably mix a little tiny bit of the base coat in the layered cup. And then I've got a kind of a golden orange here and then a very light green. So let me open these up actually and I'll kind of show you the colors. So here is our base coat. It looks very white, but it's a very light purple. And then we've got kind of a medium purple here. See if I can do this without spilling all the paints. And then we've got a darker purple. We've got a very light green here. So you don't have to have, whenever you're working with these kind of, color harmonies, color schemes, you don't have to have just purple and orange and green like right out of the tube. They can be very light greens like you can see here in the kind of color range. I went and mixed up kind of a lighter green. This is going to be my lightest value in the painting aside from our base coat there. And so you can take liberties and mix light versions, dark versions. You can make them more neutralized. You can kind of fudge your way around to play around with these different color harmonies. So here is our light green. So that'll be kind of our secondary color. Accent color will probably be the orange. I only want to use a smallish amount of our kind of metallic orange here because it's such a bright, vibrant color. So we want to use that kind of as an accent. And it's a metallic, so there's a good chance we'll get some cells. This is a mixture of Amsterdam ultramarine violet, and I put a little bit of the Master's Touch light purple, which is a little bit more of a neutralized purple. So I didn't want it to be a super vibrant purple. So we have this color, which is kind of a middle value. And then we've got this dark purple here. Where did that go? Oh, here it is. I forgot about it. This is our permanent blue violet, and I put a little black in there just to darken it up a little bit more. So I wanted a nice dark, a really dark, rich purple. So these are our 3 purples in our color scheme. So that's our dominant color. Then we've got our just 1 green color, which is the lightest value. And then our orangey gold, which is, again, just Artist Loft gold and Artist Loft metallic orange. And I used a little bit more gold perhaps in this one, so it's a little more on the yellow orange side than the actual orange side, but hey, that's okay. We can take liberties when we want to. So those are the colors for the first painting. And then over here I'll just show this to you now. It's a really dark green that I've mixed up. This will be the base coat for our second painting. And then I've got another green here that I've mixed to go into that second painting. And then I have another purple here, which I might use or might not. I might use one of these purples instead. And then, of course, we're going to go with probably this green and our accent color again with our orange. So that is the plan. We're going to pour on our base coat, and then we're going to layer our cup and get going. So I've created one of these. I had this kind of set of these little beakers. They're very inexpensive. I got them on Amazon. And so I had this smallish cup. I wanted more than about 3 ounces. So I'm going to be using about 3.5 ounces of paint. Because I want to have negative space, I don't want to use a full amount of paint that I would normally use for a 12 by 16, which would be about 7 ounces. So I want to take that and maybe cut it in half. So I'm going to be using about 3.5 ounces. So I'm going to be filling up this plastic beaker most of the way full, and I've poked a hole in the bottom. I've created a tape tab, so I'll pull that off and make it a lot easier to move my cup over the painting. And then I'll clean it. I can use it again. You just have to remember to put a tape tab over there, or else your cup will leak. So just keep that in mind if you're going to do something like that. For our second cup, it's going to be a slightly smaller. It's a 12 by 15, but I'm going to be using a little bit smaller 3-ounce cup for that one. This is just kind of a disposable plastic bathroom cup. So, and I have a tape tab in that one too. But I wanted a little bit more paint for this first painting, and so I just happen to have one of these little beakers, and we'll see how it works out. And then I've got my combs right here ready to go, and I've got here are those little dotting tools. You can kind of use them like a marble in a way, or drag them through your paint. We'll see if we use these. I'm not sure yet. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to just scooch this paint over and clear off my paint tubes. And so, by the way, this is just the easy formula. All these paints, just 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint. And I mixed them all to the number 3 consistency. So these are a little bit thinner. And because I'm going to be tilting rather quickly and just get that paint to move and make interesting shapes. So I wanted a little bit thinner paint to just create some interesting edges. And by the way, I didn't tell you what my base coat was. This is mostly white here, and I used the DecoArt Americana white for this one, and a little bit of this light purple color here. So it's a very light, kind of pinkish purple. But we'll see how it works out. So first step, we're going to put our base coat on. And I'm going to just pour a kind of a puddle, and then I'm going to tilt it around to cover the canvas. Let's see how that works out. Probably need a little more. So just tilt it around. I might actually just kind of tilt it as I go. Whoa, it's moving a little quick. It's because it's a little bit thinner. So here we go. So I'm just going to pour or tilt this around. I can scoop up the drippings also and reuse them. So you could use your palette knife if you wanted and just spread out your base coat. I sometimes like to use just get a really nice even base coat, and I'll just tilt it around. I'm not super worried about getting every single edge right at this point right now. Getting a lot of runoff. There we go. So we got that covered, and you can run your finger around and get the edges quickly if you want to. I think I got pretty much everything. So the number 3 consistency also works better for tilting out your base coat because it's a little bit thinner. And I'm going to just scoop up, I'm going to wipe my fingers quickly and then just scoop up some of this paint here. Just put it back in my cup. Just takes a second. And then we might use a little bit of this in our layered cup also, just to incorporate that color into the rest of our color palette. There we go. So we've got our base coat ready to go, that very light pink color. And I don't think I'm even going to torch it because there's not that many air bubbles. So let's go ahead and layer our cup here. Just wipe a little spot, a clean spot. And I've got my little beaker right here. So I'm going to add since the purple is the dominant color, I want to add more purples than the other colors. So I'm going to add my kind of middle color first. This is that kind of middle purple. And then maybe I'll go with our green. And then let's see here. I might go with just a touch of our orange here. Again, I don't want to overdo it with that orange. And then I'm going to go with our dark color. And I'm thinking about the colors, and I'm thinking about how they would mix together. And I'm not too concerned about creating mud or anything. The purples are going to be fine. The orange is up against that green, and then it's up against the purple. But I wanted that orange up against a dark value just so it'll have a little more pop. I'm not too worried because it's a metallic of it doing anything weird or making mud. You never quite know. But I'm hoping it won't. So let's add a little bit more. I'm going to actually add my dark here right on top of that green, and then a little bit more of the orange. And then I'm going to go back to that middle purple, and then just at the end here, just a little bit of the base coat. Just to have that incorporated with the other colors a little bit. And I think that's pretty good. So, and I know it's not a ton of paint there, but since we do want to have negative space, I basically took what it would take for 12 by 16, which is about 6 to 7 ounces of paint, and then just divided that by half. So that's how we have about 3.5 ounces there. So that looks pretty good. To me, I'm going to bring my canvas back and get it all set up right like that. And I need to get my little flipping tool. And we're going to flip this over. I'm just going to play it very safe. Just flip that over. And I'm going to start not right on the edge, I think, but a little bit more maybe in the corner down here. So I'm going to just drop it right down, kind of gently. And I'll let that sit for just a second. And let me flip the camera. And we'll see what happens after I pull our tape tab. And then I'm going to kind of move it around in kind of an interesting manner, maybe kind of like an S shape a little bit. And then we'll see what we got. Okay, so here we go. Let's pull our tape tab. I'm gently holding my cup down. I don't want it to just start floating around on me. But I've released the tape tab and gently start letting the paint out. Gonna kind of turn my cup as I go. And there we go. It came out a little quicker than I thought, but that's okay. We've got kind of an interesting puddle right here. I might do a little bit of a lip drag. So I'm going to just move it just ever so slightly. And then we'll see if we want to do anything. I kind of we've got some cool cells happening. Let's try to manipulate our puddle a little bit here. I'm going to go back to the top view. And the orange is doing some cool things. We've got some interesting cells. I'm going to grab one of my combs, and I'm going to just do a little bit of dragging in from the inside the puddle out into the base coat. So I kind of want to, I'm using the very thin, fine teeth here, and I'm kind of just delicately pull that out. That's kind of cool. Now it will be modified as we tilt and move things around. I kind of like that. I'm going to try that again right here. That one didn't go as well. I'm going to try it one more time. And let's see, anything else I want to do? I might just do a finger drag. And I'm being very delicate when I do that, kind of pulling the paint through the base coat. And if I do one, I want to do maybe one somewhere else. I'm going to pull the base coat into the puddle here. Okay. So let's call that good for now with the manipulating of stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and start tilting. And again, I'm going to tilt kind of quickly and kind of go off that edge, because I want to create some interesting shapes here. This takes a little boldness to kind of tilt this quickly. So I'm just taking a look if I want to see if I want to go off of one of these corners. I think I do. So I'm going to tilt, kind of control it. I'm going to tilt off of this corner. Maybe off of there a little bit more. I'm going to take a look at that for a moment. Now I kind of like this shape right here. I love this little squiggly thing happening. I kind of dig the comb right here. I don't love this, how it kind of ended right there with the base coat coming in. I'm going to try to do something a little different there. I'm going to take my big like ball dotting tool thing, and I'm going to kind of drag in there. I want to separate kind of these two fields of color. So I like that more. And I'm looking to see if I want to do that in another area. And let's see. I think I'm going to pull something in this way. I'm going to start out here. Just kind of create an interesting line. And let's see if I want to do that one more time. I kind of like it. Like that. So I'm going to do a little more tilting to kind of change the shape of these a little bit more. And I want to maybe pull something out over in this section of the painting. So I'm going to kind of tilt over this way. There we go. So I'm pretty happy with that, I think. Now these can be kind of funky paintings just because they're very abstract. And of course you could take this to any, kind of take it to any extreme you want. The one thing I don't love this right here. There's too much happening. I'm going to tilt some of that off. I wish I had one more cool comb area over there. I might try one more of those. I don't know. But I'm going to tilt this. I'm going to manipulate that a little bit more. I'll just take it off. And these are very kind of just, I'm just kind of pushing the paint around a little bit, nudging it here and there. And I kind of like that. I think I can just study that for a second. But I kind of like a lot of things we have done to this. I kind of like that comb. This is, Anne is asking what this tool is. This is a set of dotting tools. I think I'm not exactly sure, they're like ceramics tools, or you can use them for like a painting, like a craft painting. But you can get them in a set, and they're just like a ball bearing on this, a double-ended ball bearing. And they're kind of fun to use. It's you just drag them through your paint. And they come in a bunch of different sizes. They're not very expensive. You could find them on my Amazon store if you want. So I think I'm going to call that one good. I don't think I can really improve it much at this point. We could keep fiddling around with it, but it's best to, if you kind of like what's happening, kind of just stay with it. So I think I'm pretty pleased with it. Now you could also, where it's getting a little late in the game here, to do more, like combs and lip drags and things, you could, but then you have to, tilt them around a little bit more. And we're kind of running out of our negative space. So I like to do that, all the manipulation, kind of at the first, right at the beginning of our before we've tilted a lot. So I think I'm going to call that one finished. I'm pretty pleased with it. It's very unique, weird kind of looking, but I like some of the things we have in there. So let's call that one good. Now I do like, we've got the kind of our orange, our golden orange, looks very good with our purple. Those are almost complementary colors. And the green is not, I would say the gold is probably our secondary color, but it is kind of an accent color. The green is subtle, but it is in there in little hints here and there. So it's a subtle triadic color scheme painting. And then again, our background is a very, very soft, light purple. So, but it is a triadic color scheme, and I think it works pretty good. So let's call that one good. I'm gonna just scooch this one over here, and we could even clean up a little bit. Now, if you wanted to, if you're doing this and you have a lot of paints that you've tilted off, you could just grab one of your cups and scoop up your paint, and you'll create a very interesting new color. I'll just grab some of this. Okay. So I'll move this aside, and I'm going to just mute you for a moment, and I'll be back in just 1 second. Okay, I'm back, and I'm just going to wipe my comb off here in case I need it again. But Lily asked, she didn't see Anne's question. I don't know if I actually clicked on it, but here's Anne's question. What is the tool with the ball end? And yeah, those dotting tools. And let me see if I can find a... So here, this is the box they come in. It's a weird name, Muxin, I don't know what that is. But it says 10-piece ball style dotting tools. So if you just type in ball style dotting tools, I'm sure 1,000 products will come up. And this was about $6 or something like that. It comes with... I have a bunch of really small ones in there, and then it has the larger kind of ball bearing ones. It's kind of a cool set. So, okay, I'm going to move that paint away. I'll clean that cup later. So next up, we're going to be working with the same triadic color scheme, but instead of having the purple be the dominant color, green will be our dominant color in our second one. And I've mixed up a really dark green here. And this is, I wanted a dark base coat for the second painting. So this is Master's Touch. It's a pearlized dark green, and I added some black to that. So it's a very deep kind of pearlized green color. And then we're going to be using our light green here. And I have this green, which is one of my favorites. It's, where did it go? It's the green gray from Liquitex Basics is this green. And green is kind of a hard color to use, at least for me, because so many greens are really unnatural looking and not very attractive right out of the tube. This is one of the exceptions, though. Actually, both of these. These are both beautiful greens, I think, because they're much more natural looking. They're more neutralized. They're not so garishly green. So green is a tricky color. Like a lot of the greens just look terrible, and they're very hard to use. And I don't love, green is a great color, but I just don't love the paint color green. I like greens that are more natural, and I guess a little more earthy looking. So that's what we're going to be using are these three greens. And then we'll be using a purple in this color scheme as well. And then again, our orange color, our golden orange. I might go with this purple here, which is a little bit darker, a little bit more neutralized purple. That's the purple gray from Liquitex Basics. So we got green gray and purple gray, a little bit more neutralized purple. It's not so bright as this is a pretty dark one, but it's not so vibrant as some of these other ones. So I might use this one in our cup. So first step is putting our base coat on. So basically the same thing. I'm gonna just tilt this around. Just pour this on. This is, by the way, a 12 by 15 panel. So this is one of my panels. And probably going to need more. So I'm going to do the same thing, just kind of go around and tilt this around. One of those corner catcher things would be probably an awesome idea, like just a piece of cardboard. I don't have one. I should. But every time I think of one, I'm in the middle of tilting my paint. So it's a little too late. But it would probably work really well for this. So again, this is the number 3 consistency, so it's a little bit thinner, a little easier to tilt over your canvas. And I need just a little bit more. Just use my finger a little bit. And there we go. So I got that covered. I covered the edges for the most part. So we're in good shape. And I have a little bit left if I want to use it in our layered cup. So, okay. So there we go. And I'm going to just move this to the side for a moment. And get drips. Just dump those back on the canvas. And I'm making a mess, so that's okay. Tilting your canvas around always makes a mess. And I don't do it that often, but I do like just the nice, smooth, even coverage of the base coat when you do it that way. So let's go ahead and get our second cup. So this one I'm going to be using just a little bit less paint because it's a tiny bit smaller surface that we're going to be using. So this is just a 3-ounce cup, and I'll probably be filling it up almost to the top. But similar to the last one, we're going to be using more of our greens, a little less of the purple, and the orange as our kind of accent color. So let's go ahead and start layering this cup. So again, I'm going to go with kind of from the lightest to darkest, perhaps. My light green, I'm going to put in a little bit of that middle green. And actually, I'm going to put a little bit of our dark green in there right now, just a small amount. And then our purple. Actually, I'm going to go with our orange next because I want the orange to be up against those dark values. So a little bit of the orange. And then our purple. And then go back to our light green. This time I'm just going to go with the purple. And then one more smallish layer of our orange. Now I'm going to go with the dark on top of that. And finish it up with our green. So a little bit more of our light. I want the lighter value, quite a bit of the light value, because there's so much dark with our negative space. And there we go. That's pretty much full. So I'm going to set that down for a second. Bring this over. Okay, just wipe my fingers so it can be slippery when you have paint all over your hands, so I like to wipe them off when I'm doing the flipping part. So hey, again, even though it's a small cup, it's full all the way, so I'm going to use my tool, flip that over. And again, start kind of closer to the edge. Just drop it right about there. Okay. All right, let me move this over just a touch. And so far so good. Let's go ahead and pull our tape tab. Again, I'm going to just push down on that cup so it doesn't start flying away from me. And we're going to just start letting the paint out and dragging it around. Okay, sorry, I had to get a drink of water. Had a tickle in my throat. So here we go. I'm gonna kind of twirl it here at the end. And pull it away. So this is much like more compact paint puddle, but it's doing some cool things. And of course, once we start tilting, the paint will start moving around a little bit. So let's go ahead and I'll flip the camera back here. Kind of looks like a slug right now, but I think we can make something cool happen. So with this one, I'm going to just, I think, do a little tilting first. A little preliminary tilting. Just kind of move that paint around a bit. See if there's something I want to do. I kind of like all of the effects that are happening. So I think I might I think I might want to just incorporate some of the base coat into our puddle a little bit. So I'm kind of going to do the reverse of what we did on the first one. Like this big green field, I think I'm going to just do a finger drag and bring some of that dark into that green. Again, just very delicately kind of pull that in there. And I think I want to do that again over here maybe. And again, that will kind of move, be changed as we tilt a little bit more. And down here, I think I might use the comb. Maybe not that fine one, but I might use this one right here. And I want to drag some of the base coat into our puddle. Now that is a kind of a very, I don't love the look of that, but I'm not going to try to fix it. I'm going to just switch to maybe this little, it's a little finer but not quite as fine, and work with that one. And maybe one more. I really like this area, so I don't want to mess with that too much. Maybe up in here. Okay. So let's leave it at that for now, and let's do some tilting. And again, I'm going to be kind of aggressive with my tilting. I'm going to tilt this corner off right away. And I'll bring this down. So again, I'm just looking for those interesting, I want those interesting shapes and interesting edges, and so I'm tilting quickly and kind of erratically just to get the paint to move quicker. So there we go. That changed things up quite a bit. And you can see all of those comb drags look much more natural. They look a little bit more organic. This one's still a little bit contrived right here. I might try to change that up. Now one thing you could do or one thing I'm going to try to do, I'm going to mess with this corner again really quick. Just want to bring that paint down, move it a little bit more. So there we go. I like that better. We kind of changed these lines up quite a bit. I like that much better. It's a much more interesting negative space shape down there. The purple really took over on this one, actually. That purple kind of really went everywhere. But it still kind of works. I'm glad I used the more neutralized purple. It kind of buried that green in areas. Now, there's only one thing that's bothering me right now, and it's this green shape right there. So I'm going to try to kind of do a finger drag in there and kind of bring it into the base coat a little bit. I like that a whole lot better. So let me turn this. I'm going to do just a little bit of, not a lot of tilting, but just a little to kind of move that around. Yeah, I think I like that a lot better. So there we go. I think I'm going to call that one good. We have a lot of interesting things happening in there. Now, again, you don't have to do all these comb drags and things. You could just stick with the aggressive tilting, just moving those shapes around, and you'll get a very interesting composition. It'll look a little bit more organic and natural without, these kind of comb marks. But whatever you want to do. I just wanted to, I like them because it just creates much more interesting edges and shapes. Makes the painting a little more dynamic. But if you hate them, then you definitely don't have to do them. You can accomplish a very similar, kind of very abstract painting just by doing, the aggressive tilting. Or you don't even have to, if you don't like the negative space, you can stick with what we did last week. Just put a thin base coat down and then tilt over the whole painting. And if, as a last resort, like if you're like, I don't like this at all, and I'm thinking I might try it right now, you could always try to tilt over more of the edges and eliminate some of the negative space or things you don't like. I'm tempted to do it just to demonstrate. So let's just say, I'm not in love with this painting. It's okay, but it's not like fantastic. So I'm gonna tilt off like a big section of this right down here and just see what we can end up with. If we just, like a last resort, you're trying to save the painting, you're not thrilled with it, let's just continue to work on it a little bit more. We might actually like it a whole lot better. Just kind of moving the paint around there. And I actually do kind of like that a little bit better. And we could continue to tilt and take out this space as well, this area. I kind of like that negative space though. So I might just leave it at that. But so I think, again, if you really didn't like it, whatever you're working on, you could continue tilting and try to tilt over all the stuff you don't like. See if you can save it. Don't be too quick to scrape your painting and start over. Always try to finagle it or finesse it to get something you like a little bit more. And actually, I might try something else. I might try something else here. So I'm going to do a little bit more tilting. Because a lot of that green wasn't really working for me. I just wasn't in love with the green and the dark green together. It just looked kind of out of place with the rest of the colors. So we're going to tilt it all off. And I already like it a whole lot more. I'll show you in a second here. Oh, almost lost my grip. I'm going to just bring that paint back down a little bit. Okay, there we go. So I like that a whole lot more. And the reason I thought of it, let me wipe my hands, I'll show you. I liked this dark negative space, but it was kind of small, and I was like, I wish I could bring that back up into the painting. And I said, well, the only way to do that is to tilt all of that stuff off. And I was like, well, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. And so just go ahead and try it. Now that that can be an extreme move, if you kind of like your painting. So it all depends on, it's a balancing act, if how badly you like it or how badly you want to change it versus how much you like it. But with this one, I was like, it's not the greatest. And now I think the green is much better incorporated into the overall color scheme. So, but I really like these shapes a whole lot more. So, and then we have this nice kind of dark kind of trail in there. So I don't know. I think it's still not the greatest painting in the world, but I like it a whole lot better. So if they don't work out, just try a couple different things. Try to fix it or save it before you scrape it all off too quickly. Because I've created a lot of really nice paintings out of what I thought were maybe failures. But you just keep pushing it a little bit and you can come up with something you like more. So anyway, so there we go. That was kind of an interesting one. Wasn't the greatest one. But kind of, I like it a little bit better now. So I think I would like it better if I turned it this way, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. So And sometimes you just have to scrape them off anyway. Even after your best efforts, you tried everything you could, it still just doesn't work out. You know, that's okay. You know, there's always another one. And so, but yeah, I'm torn with this one. I'm not really thrilled with it. But that is a demo on how to do kind of a triadic color scheme. I think the colors, for whatever reason, the purple just really dominated this whole composition, and the greens just kind of got lost, which is kind of what I was not hoping for. So in that sense, it's kind of a failure, but you know, we tried our best. So there we go. So okay, let me flip on back here. And all right, any questions you might have about the technique or tools or anything else, I'd be happy to answer them. And again, I'll just point out again, the triadic color scheme, those triadic color harmonies can be very tricky to work with in paint pouring, because they just kind of naturally want to create mud sometimes, especially like the primary triad, which is yellow, red, and blue. You know, we talked about that one in our muddy color studio chat. Those make mud very easily. So, but most of these triads, you have to be kind of careful with them, because you know, mud is easier to create using them. So they're not for everyone, but they're fun to play around with if you're interested in them. So, all right. Okay, I don't see any questions. Let me just see if something came in earlier. Okay. All right. Well, Monique's going to try it out tomorrow, which is cool. So hopefully it inspired you to give it a shot. I know the combs, you know, the manipulating thing, it's not everyone's cup of tea. I like it. I like to work with that on this particular style, the flip and drag style. But you can still get very cool paintings without doing that stuff. So next week, we're going to be working on a little bit more complicated flip and drag technique. We'll be doing a double base coat, so kind of a split base coat, and then we'll be doing our flip and drag through that, and then more aggressive tilting to try to get some very interesting edges and shapes. Probably won't be using the combs with that one, just going with the tilting and seeing if we can create very interesting paint edges and paint shapes next week for that demo. So, alrighty. Cool. Well, thanks so much for joining me, everyone. Last call for questions. If you have any, I'll take a sip of water. Give you a second to type them in if you have any. Okay. I don't see any. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining me. Next week we'll be doing a little bit more flip and drags, and those are my favorite ones, probably the split base coat. You can get some very cool, fun paintings with those. And Carla's asking, does the Liquitex formula work better? Well, we'll find out next week. I'm going to be trying it with the Liquitex formula. It's very similar, though. You might get some more interesting cell activity, some cell action, but as far as the paint consistency, it's about the same. So I'm going to be using the same, like number 3 consistency, the very slight mound consistency, but it's very, very similar. You just get you can get some more fun some cells and cool things like that. So, but we will take a look at that next week. So, all right, good question though. Thanks so much, everyone. I will talk to you later. Have a great rest of your week. I'll see you Friday for our Friday demo. Take care, everyone. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.